Hey, what's up everybody? This is Like It's 1985, and today we are going to take a look at Transformers Generations Deluxe Class TANKOR. Now, when I first removed TANKOR from packaging, I was a little bit disappointed because of the fact that he's so short. He's basically a short, stocky figure in the way he was designed, but actually after some time looking at him and playing with the figure, I actually have come to really actually like the figure much more than I thought I would. So, starting off with the size comparisons, I do have two figures here. Here is the Generations Trail Cutter figure. And then I'll bring in the current movie line Crosshairs figure. So you get an idea of the size comparison there. I mean, he is shorter than both of these figures, basically. But he kind of makes up for his lack of height with his bulkiness, which is good. So let's go ahead and focus on the actual close-up details on this figure. And starting with the head sculpt here, it looks really nice, very menacing, I would say. And I just absolutely love the colors on the chest, this really bright, I shouldn't say bright, but dark blue with dark red contrasting there. And the paint apps on my figure, at least, are exceptionally well done. There's no real quality control issues in terms of paint that I can see anyways. So I do like the contrast of the red and the blue. Even the missile are painted red as well. I like the contrast of the yellow and blue here on the shoulder armor. I got some silver detailing paint here on the upper arm. And just looking at the figure 360 here, take a look at the back. As far as the articulation goes, the missile launcher here does clip into this point right there, and then it bends, and you can really get it into a lot of dynamic angles. You can even have it like this, where it's kind of like in storage mode, or you can go like this, where it's in firing mode, like that, something like that. And then you have the shoulder armor here that articulates up and down. The head itself actually is on a ball joint, although due to the way it's designed, the head really can only swivel, and it does tend to clash, as you can see there. So only you can look left and right to about this degree there. So there's that. Of course, you got shoulder articulation, and the arms can go out, swivel there, double bend at the elbow. And then instead of hands, TANKOR has these claws, and as far as I can tell, you have to manually articulate the claws. There is a wheel here, which on my figure at least doesn't do anything. It doesn't open and close the claw like I thought it might, but on both hands he has that capability to articulate the claws, although you have to do it manually. Like I said, you can't use the little wheel here on the side, so that's interesting. No waist articulation, but then you got the legs, and swivel there. Just a slight bend at the knee, and then rotation here at the ankles. So that is all the articulation for the figure. The actual missile launcher does fire, it does work. The harder you press on the back here, the more distance you should get out of the projectile. So there's that. I'll go ahead and just leave that out for now. And let's go ahead and transform this guy into his tank mode. So the first thing you should do, fold up the arms like that, take off the cannon. You could probably leave it on, but I'm just going to go ahead and take it off just to make sure it doesn't get in the way as I transform it here. For the legs, you want to bring down the feet like that. You can see they're basically treads, and then this panel gets rotated forward. Same deal over here, of course. Then you want to separate, basically the torso is pegged into this back piece here. So you're going to take this out and unpeg it like that. And then rotate this panel up like that. Then, as you can see, this is on a big hinge, this whole assembly here. And there is two peg holes there, which line up with the pegs like that. And then, excuse me. And actually, probably what you want to do before is lift that up just a little bit. That allows you to rotate the arms and shoulder armor in. And there actually are 2 pegs right there, one there, corresponding to 2 peg holes there. So you gotta kind of line things up without seeing where it's going, but you just kind of have to get it to that position about there. Seems like it's in place. Okay, and then let me plug in the missile launcher here. There we go. And here is Tanker and his tank mode. Now, as you can see, he does have the exposed head syndrome, but if you look at the design of the original Tankor, it doesn't really exactly have a head, but it has a cockpit section that's shaped like a head with slits representing the eyes. So, in a way, it's just a homage to the original, figure. The original figure, by that I mean the original Beast Machines Tankor figure. So you do have the exposed head. But like I say, since that design element is somewhat there in the original, it doesn't bother me too much. Then you got a little bit of a wheel there, as well as on the tips of what were his feet. So I find he doesn't really roll that well. Sort of. It may be just how I transformed it, that's why it's not rolling as well as it could, but it's actually rolling pretty well compared to my first take of this review. So, at comparison, Generations Warpath. Tank versus tank. So yeah. So there you go. Vehicle mode for Tankor. So, with that said, let's take a brief look at the comic that does come packaged with the figure. I do like the idea of these, basically with the Marvel Universe they call them comic packs, but I guess it's a similar idea here, but basically you get a comic with a figure, which is cool. The storyline doesn't really feature Tankor, although the cover does. This is a Hasbro exclusive cover, partnering with the IDW crew. So really cool. It does look like the toy, which is cool. So the cover's good, and it tells you here where in the story line this is taking place in. And then we can just take a brief look at the art. I did read the story, but it wasn't very compelling, because it was part of a larger story that I'm not really following. But, if you're following it, then you may be interested in taking some time to read the comic. But here's just an idea of the artwork style. That's a pretty cool picture of Metroplex. And that is the end of this particular comic. So yeah, pretty cool figure. Like I said before, it's rather small, even in its tank form, but especially you notice it in his robot mode. But like I say, for me it kind of grew on me. I kind of, after playing with the figure for a while, I kind of actually liked the design of Tankor here. So the shortness issue doesn't really bother me so much anymore. Would have been nice to see this as a Voyager class figure. That's the only thing I could really think of in terms of negatives for the figure. The transformation is rather simplistic. If you look at the back of the card back, it rates the figure as a transformation level 2, which really it isn't. But anyhow, here's the back, card back, and just to be complete, I'll show you here the specs. Actually, the specs are pretty good for this character, apparently. He doesn't really go below a 7. Although if they had a height rating, he'd be like at a 4 or 5. So, anyhow, Transformers, Generations, Deluxe Class, Tankor. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and gals later.